The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
Welcome into UFC Best Bets. We are talking about UFC 294. It will take place right there in Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. Very cool looking arena. And it will play host to a very, very cool pay-per-view card. Not the card we expected originally. No Paulo Costa, no Charles Oliveira, but Islam Makhachev will be facing Alexander Volkanovski, and Khamzat Chimaev makes his first appearance of 2023 against Kamaru Usman. I am very excited to talk about this card from a gambling perspective. Mr. Ian Parker, I can only imagine you are excited as well. But before we do so, we must look back at UFC Fight Night. How did we do on our best bets last week in the Las Vegas Apex?
Brett, we had another good week, but this week's 4-2 was better than last week's. That's because Edson Barboza at plus 140 was a big profitable win for us. We also hit our parlay. It was only ended up being plus 110 because the Chavez-La Cerda fight got canceled. Our only two blemishes, Jennifer Maia, I actually thought she won that fight, and TJ Brown losing to Darren Elkins, props to him. Pajeda, he got it done. Martinez, no sweat. Rodriguez really edged it out, and then back to the Barboza fight. Heart, experience, 5 rounds, took the decision. On to this week. Let's get another winning week. Let's go.
Yeah, what a win by Edson Barboza, man. Got to send out almost like a congratulations to him for surviving that first round. And here we go. How about this for a surprise? We brought in the bad guy for the UFC 294. Last week, I was being told that Chael, you and Ian are great friends. And my response was, I've never seen you hang out. Are you guys having little secret bromance movie nights on the road that I am unfamiliar with?
We most certainly speak about 4 or 5 times a week. And by the way, Brett, it's just me. You didn't have to get all dressed up, but I do appreciate the effort.
This is my normal attire chair, as you know. Chael is on the hip ESPN campus doing all of the pre-shows for UFC 294, and he has joined us for this UFC Best Bets. And Chael, the first question I'm going to ask you about this main event, we have seen this fight before. In fact, it wasn't even all that long ago. Islam Makhachev and Alex Volkanovski, you can see it there, headlining this main card that is a special start time. It starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, so don't forget that if you're going to catch this main card on ESPN+. And we're going to be talking about all of these fights from a gambling perspective. But look, Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski, they fought back in February. The fight was closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be, and now here we are, not too much down the road. Different circumstances, short notice fight for Alexander Volkanovski. Chael, over the course of your career, you always had the mental advantage because you were a gangster from Westland, Oregon. But I want to know, who has the mental advantage here in the circumstances of this main event?
All right, Brett, thank you for the question. And I want to tell you this. I would take a clear head, as a competitor, a clear head over a full training camp any day. Contrary to popular belief, short notice really helps a guy. Paralysis by analysis. You sit, you focus on something, you swell up a little bit, you overtrain, you talk yourself out of it while you're trying to talk yourself into it. I see guys come in with a clear head and pull upsets. It's what dreams are made of. Ask Michael Bisping if you need a full training camp or if you just need a nice clear head. And I bring that to you because this is a rematch. The question is, did Volk overperform in the first fight? According to the odds makers, he did. According to the fans, he did. It was 3-1 when that fight went in Perth. And I'll tell you, it was very tight when it was over, but I'm not sure that he did overperform. I think that Volk has demonstrated through his career an ability to show that he can do better the second time than he did the first time. I think the gap that he created between himself and Max Holloway, that is not what history says. History favors the younger guy. It favors Max Holloway, but Volk showed us something different. If he can make those same adjustments and improvements over Makhachev, we're going to have a new champion.
Man, that's super interesting. So obviously, Ian, I go to you for the gambling analysis. And the first time these two fought, Islam was a bigger favorite. He was closer to minus 375. Now, it's a short notice fight for his opponent, but he's only minus 260. And obviously, that's because we saw that the first fight was very competitive. That's a big swing for a fight that we just saw 8 months ago. And a guy on short notice. There's a lot to unpack here. How do you look at this this betting line?
You know what? I look at this as just the way both you and Chael kind of brought it up. It was a lot closer than we expected. I think there's two factors here. I think that Volk he said it after round 2. He said, Islam is not as strong as I thought. He's not as big as I thought. And once that happened, he was able to loosen up. He wasn't as tense. He wasn't as scared of getting taken down. And I think Islam probably thought, I'm going to take this little guy down at ease. And that wasn't the case when he felt that power and that punch of Volkanovski. So the line to me makes a lot of sense, how it's less. I'm a little surprised it dropped so much because, look, at the end of the day, it is short notice. And everything that Chael said is accurate with mentality. But with Islam Makhachev in that camp and Khabib Nurmagomedov, I don't think there is a weakness in that mental game. I don't think they ever take days off. I think they are born and bred to fight. Doesn't matter who, what, when, where, or how. And I think Volkanovski saw this as, you know what, I may really not get this rematch unless something crazy happens, because when he beat Yair Rodriguez, they said, who do you want next? He said, I want the rematch, but I need surgery, so I won't be ready for Abu Dhabi. Yet he's ready. Here we are, and it changes everything.
Chael, let me ask you one more question, and then Ian, you can piggyback on how this makes you think about the total in this fight. Chael, do you think that the strategy is going to be a ton different for Alex Volkanovski, or is he going in thinking, I'm just going to do the same things, but I'm going to do them a little bit better? Or are you expecting a different fight?
One thing that will really change a guy's striking is if he fears the takedown. The threat of the takedown is more damning to your striking than the takedown itself. And the reason I say that, Volkanovski did not have a full confidence in himself in that first fight in terms of his ability to out-wrestle or even wrestle with Islam. So it slowed his striking down. The stand-up part of that fight, while people say it favored Volkanovski, that could be true, but it was razor thin. One of the reasons is because he didn't have that confidence that he could defend the shot while throwing his hands, his feet, his knees and elbows. I say that to you because I think that's going to be different. I think he's going to be more comfortable. I don't think he has that same fear this time in terms of, can I protect myself and even can I defend the wrestling ability? And therefore, it's going to make his striking very different. And one thing that Volk never gets credit for is how long his reach is. People don't fully understand that because he looks to be a rather short gentleman. He's got long arms. He's got a reach on everybody. Plus, he's a master of controlling range. Inside, outside is one thing that we really saw in his fight with the Korean Zombie. I think just that confidence, and confidence is a word that gets greatly overused in sport, but there is a time and a place. And being confident that I have the ability to strike without giving up my hips and getting taken down, that's one thing that is going to be different in this fight, favoring Volkanovski.
Yeah, and Ian, so you hear that from him, and you hear that from Volkanovski, that he's more confident here. He's more confident in his striking. Do you think that the strategy is going to be much different? Then how does that affect the total in this fight?
You know what? Volkanovski's talking a big game, saying, I'm going to go in there, be killed or be killed. But I don't believe him because that's just not the way he fights. What actually makes him special is that he doesn't force himself into those positions, and he lets it play out organically with his combinations, wearing the fight down, and just his accuracy is really something special here. But when it comes to the over-under in this fight, Brett, I don't see it being that much of a difference. Reason being, Volkanovski just doesn't get finished. It just, and we saw it against Islam. He had position, he had the back for almost an entire round, and the submission threat wasn't even there. For me, I think this fight goes over 4.5 rounds. I love that we can get a better number at over 3.5 rounds. So I'm going to take that in this fight here. I think we're going to see rounds 4 and 5. I do agree with Chael that this fight's going to be more competitive because Volk can let loose, not worry about getting taken down as much. Therefore, the striking will be way better and way more impactful. But for me, over 3.5 rounds, I think we're going to see this fight go to a decision.
So interesting that we're all expecting a closer fight than the first time, and yet Volkanovski's coming in on 11 days' notice. That is pretty wild to consider. Let's go to the co-main event. It's Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat Chimaev. Kamaru Usman, an underdog for the first time since he fought Tyron Woodley in 2019. Chael, tell me what is going to happen in this fight, man. I am fascinated by this one. What do you see happening in this fight?
We're at a minimum going to see something from Chimaev that we've never seen before, and I'll tell you that for 2 reasons. Chimaev's greatest assets: 1, he can weaponize pace. That's a very hard thing for the audience to see, or even people like us to articulate to the audience, but fellow athletes know it. They know when a guy is bringing a certain pressure, he's not wearing down, but you are. Does that a great job of that. I just don't think he can outpace Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman has fought nothing but 25-minute fights for the last 6 years. This is almost a day off for him to go 15 minutes. To make believe, even on short notice, that Kamaru Usman is going to get exhausted in 3 rounds, I am not buying that. And second thing, Chimaev always can control where the fight goes. He had a little bit of problem with Burns in terms of taking him down at will, but I'm just sharing for you, this is a national champion wrestler in Kamaru Usman. This is a gentleman that spent time at the Olympic Training Center that had those same aspirations of Henry Cejudo and Daniel Cormier. Kamaru Usman is a fantastic grappler. At a minimum, Chimaev is going to have to show us something if he's going to win this fight that he's never shown us before, and that is what I'm most excited to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. So how do we go about trying to bet this, Ian?
You know what? I'm going to go a little bit different here. I think that everything Chael said with Kamaru Usman, it rings true. Look, this is one of the best, if not the best welterweight outside of George St. Pierre to ever do it in the division, okay? He was always extremely dominant. But what that kick to the head from Leon Edwards did, it changed him. That second fight against Leon Edwards, he looked stiff, he looked hesitant, he didn't look confident. And now it almost seems he's happier not being the champ. He doesn't have to carry that pressure. The 11 days notice doesn't concern me with cardio. I'm not worried about that with Usman. He's gone 5 rounds forever. He's never been gassed. That's not my concern. My concern is that he's going against someone that I believe that is better than him in every single aspect. And while Kamaru Usman, I think, is kind of plateauing, going downhill at this point, Chimaev is on that rocket to the moon. I'm going Khamzat Chimaev to get this done inside the distance.
Okay, all right, going Chimaev inside the distance to get a finish over the former welterweight champion. Let's move on to the rest of this main card, but before we do, thank you so much, Chael. You always add excitement, energy, and we know that you never get a pick wrong, so thank you for your insight into these fights at UFC 294.
You guys are awesome. I'm out of here.
All right, Ian, let's go through the rest of this main card, which again has that special start time of 2 p.m. Eastern. Let's go Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. Walker has looked better as of late, but he's still plus 275 against Ankalaev. What do you think of this one?
I think this is going to be Ankalaev taking out all that frustration from the Jan Blachowicz fight and putting it into Johnny Walker. Look, Walker has looked better, but Ankalaev is just better everywhere. And if he puts Walker on his back, that's where he gets it done. Let's go Ankalaev inside the distance here.
All right, and from there we go to the middleweight division. Ikram Aliskerov taking on Warlley Alves. What do you think of this one?
I think this has potential to be a brutal, brutal fight, and I feel bad for Warlley Alves here. He's taking this on short notice, and he's taking it to someone, Aliskerov, who this is a really nicely kept secret of the UFC. Someone who's fought Khamzat Chimaev, gave him trouble in a different organization, looked okay against Phil Hawes, and then all of a sudden he looked great against Phil Hawes. I think the same thing happens here. I think he knocks out Warlley Alves. That number at minus 250 is tougher inside the distance. I don't know what other way to go here, but you can throw him in a parlay, get some value.
All right, and to finish out this main card is Saeed Nurmagomedov taking on Muin Gafarov. Saeed Nurmagomedov, great record at 17-3, but he has looked beatable sometimes as a massive favorite. Here he's minus 230. What do you think?
You know what? I think he's going to have the reach, he's going to have the size, and have the grappling advantage. I think this fight's going to start round 3. Both guys not been finished. Gafarov is very, very tough. And for Nurmagomedov, we saw the gas a little bit go out. He had to really kind of get from behind and get that win. I think this one's going to go pretty far, but we're going to get a good number to start round 3, so I'm going to play it in that one. That fight may be one of those fight of the nights that we weren't expecting either.
Okay, so there are your picks for the UFC 294 main card. As always, we move on to the UFC 294 prelims. You can find those on ESPN and ESPN Plus. What do you think of the prelim picks here, Ian? I'll let you just run right through them.
Thank you, kind sir. So Tim Elliott versus Islam Makhachev. Brett, not only am I taking this by submission, that's going to be my prop of the night. We've taken him each time. He's had some scary moments, and Elliott is a very good veteran. I hate the number of minus 440 only because Elliott can make things competitive, but he gets himself in too many bad situations. Makhachev is so slick on the ground. By sub prop of the night. We're going to go now to Trevor Peek. I like to call him the Sledgehammer. That's the nickname I just gave him. In his last fight, he went all 3 rounds. He lost by decision. He's getting someone, however, in Yaya, who has a good record. He's a hometown guy, but he's fought nobody. He rushes in. He will get caught. Peek will win. Give me Basharov by decision over a very tough Victor Henry. Abu Azaitar versus Dumas. This fight throws me off. Azaitar's not fought in a while. Dumas looked good, then bad, then good. Let's go over 1.5. I'm going to take a shot at Mike Breeden here against Jubilee. I do think Breeden is way better than he fought against Terrence McKinney. I think that number is way too wide. Value on Breeden. Let's go with the underdog there. Wood, Naimov over 2.5 rounds. When Wood wins, he wins by decision. Naimov never been finished. I like that pick there. Dudikova versus Jinyu Frame. Under 2.5 rounds. Listen, Fry's been around for a while. She's been finished. Dudikova is a new, shiny prospect. I think she gets it done by sub, under 2.5 rounds. And last but not least, keep an eye on this fight. I can't believe this is the first fight in the prelims. Bruno Silva versus Shaur Magomedov. If you don't know who Magomedov is, you're going to find out. That fight is not going anywhere past the second round. Magomedov inside the distance at -135.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's one of those fights where I think that they put it out there to get some excitement going right off the bat. So you did something a little bit different this week. We did a prelims parlay and a main card parlay. Here is your prelim parlay. Walk me through it.
Yeah, and I'm going to be transparent here. I like all the heavy favorites on this card. I don't see a lot of underdogs that I really feel are going to rise through. So I'm going to take a shot and just try and go money line. Makhachev, Basharat, Wood, and Dudakova, the prelims, we're going to get it at +119. We do have to win 4 fights. I just have a hard time seeing where any of these underdogs win. So I'm trying to not pay too much juice. Let's go +119 on the prelim parlay. All right, so then we got the main card parlay that you talked about. Islam Makhachev, Khamzat Chimaev, Ankalaev, and Aliskerov. Now, here's where things can get a little bit fun. I am sure there are going to be people out there that think Volkanovski has a chance to win, and that's great. So if you do this parlay and we get to the last leg, go ahead and place a straight bet on Volkanovski. You can hedge it. You're getting great numbers. So either which way, you will profit if it gets to the anchor of the parlay. We're getting +167 on this one. So both parlays, heavy favorites, but we're getting plus numbers on it. I'm going to take that all day.
Yeah, and as always, follow Ian on Twitter and just hit him up during the fights. He will respond to you immediately with any of the up-to-date betting analysis as the fight progresses. And here are your best bets. What do we got for the best bets at UFC 294?
All right, we're going to go to the main event, over 3.5 rounds. First fight, it went all the way. I think the odds makers are a little thrown off by Volkanovski on short notice, thinking that Islam might finish him, and then Volk saying it's kill or be killed. That's just not how either one of these guys really fight, and we saw how competitive it was. Let's go over 3.5. I'm going to go Khamzat Chimaev inside the distance against Kamaru Usman. It pains me to say this. I love Kamaru Usman as a fighter. He is up there as one of the greatest to do it at welterweight. But this is a time in the sport where he doesn't have the best knees. He did not look good against Leon Edwards. And I think Chimaev not having to cut weight is going to be tremendous for him with the cardio. It's going to be a scary fight. Let's go Chimaev inside at -125. Nurmagomedov, Gafarov to start round 3. I even think you could take this to go the distance at a better number. I'm trying to play a little safe there. Trevor Peek, I don't love the -155. I liked it a lot better when the odds were closer to even money, but I think he gets it done here, and they're still low enough where I'm comfortable playing it. So let's go with my man, the sledgehammer, Trevor Peek. Wood, Naimov over 2.5 rounds. And last but not least, if you don't know who Shaur Magomedov is, he looks like a comic book villain. He fights like one. He's fighting against someone, Bruno Silva, who's going to bring the fight. But Silva's chin is not good. He gets dropped easily. Magomedov to start off the card inside the distance at -135.
All right, nice work on the best bets. How about the long shot parlay for this Saturday?
This one's got a nice little payout. I went with props here. You know, there wasn't too many underdogs I felt comfortable with. And I originally had Mike Breeden on here, but the weight miss, a little scary with that one. So we're going to go Nurmagomedov by decision, Basharat by decision, Wood by decision, and Dudakova by sub. You're getting a good number there. I think all these are very realistic. Those you may think Dudakova by decision, I think she's going to get that back control really early. She's very good at takedowns. Fry does not have great defense on the ground. So we're going to go with the sub and the 3 decisions. And let's hit that long shot for 294.
All right, there you go. There's all your gambling analysis for UFC 294. And hey, guys, I don't make many mistakes, but I did make one. The prelims are not on ESPN. They are on ESPN MMA YouTube. I don't believe that's the first time we've ever had that happen. So you can watch the prelims right here on YouTube, the ESPN MMA YouTube channel. I want to thank Chael Sonnen again for joining the program, Ian's best friend. I want to thank Ian Parker himself joining us from Florida. And I want to thank you for watching UFC Best Bets. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoy the fights. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.